Next on Worcester News tonight, flooding across the city tonight as a band of heavy storms pass through the area. Plus, members of the Save Notre Dame Alliance taking yet another proposal to the city on how to use the former church. Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Anna Botari. Rainstorms causing flash flooding all over central Massachusetts this evening. Streets were not the only things flooding here in Worcester. People were also dealing with flooding in their homes. Flooded streets, cars submerged, and basements filled with water. Just a few scenes in Worcester during Tuesday's storm.
Put duct tape on all this.
Margarita Delgado lives in a first-floor apartment at the corner of Bellevue Ave and Austin Street. She's using any means possible to stop the water from coming inside.
I'm trying duct tape, plastic bags, towels, and it's still, every time people come into the water, it just goes into my apartment.
The water rising high enough to stop cars from passing through the intersection. Water here on Bellevue Avenue has come up and is actually covering the sidewalk. Residents who live in this apartment building right here say that their apartments are flooded, and this isn't the first time that this has happened.
Since I've been living here, this is the second time. So I've been living here for almost 3 years already. But last time I lost shoes, clothing, my whole bed, my whole bureaus, everything. So when I wake up and I went down to the floor, I felt water, at least 3 inches of water inside of my apartment.
Residents here say they want answers from the city as to why the street is flooding like this.
I mean, I don't know if the city can do something about this issue because we need help.
At the intersection of Bellevue and Austin Street, there were multiple cars and even a UPS truck that got stuck due to the flooding. People who live in the neighborhood tell us they were trying to warn drivers not to proceed through.
People don't know that it's deep right there, probably about 2 feet, 2.5 feet in there. And as you go, that water goes into your engine and then you're gonna get stuck. So please try to avoid this section, okay?
Neighbors say their advice is to avoid the area altogether when there's heavy rain. Flooding also affecting other parts of the city, including a section of Route 20 in Worcester. This area shut down for a few hours tonight due to rising water levels. To show you just how much water, take a look at this Volkswagen Beetle, submerged up to its headlights in water. Safety crews were on scene. Switching gears now, members of the Save Notre Dame Alliance taking yet another proposal to the city on how to use the former church. The group saying even though the city shot down previous ideas, they're hoping to reach the negotiation table just one more time. Our Cam Jandro joins us now live with more. Cam?
Anna, the group is picturing something very similar to Boston Public Garden, but in this case, Notre Dame would be the centerpiece.
The Save Notre Dame Alliance says they would be willing to drop a lawsuit against City Square Development if the city works with them to save the former church.
We would like the council to support us in our call for a negotiation to come up with a compromise that saves Notre Dame, preserved as an architectural monument.
Alliance spokesperson Ted Kana is one of 13 people to file suit against the developer for allegedly failing to provide demolition plans to the state. He hasn't missed a city council meeting since late April. Tuesday, he was there again, proposing how the former Notre Dame des Canadiens could be used.
The site is big enough to accommodate both the existing building and significant new construction.
The group's proposal is called the Wooster Public Garden. At-large Councillor Mo Bergman says the idea is a good one, but funding remains the real issue.
It's just we're not in a position by a majority of the vote of the council to agree that taxpayer money should be used for that.
Bergman says the group needs to find a private source of funding to make their proposal reasonable.
Who's going to pay for the upkeep of the property and the purchase of the property? That's the kind of million-dollar question.
Kana believes repair costs would be in the area of $3 to $4 million. He says it's doable.
The council keeps telling us how much they understand and that they wish they could save it. And again, I say to them that we can save it.
Now, Kana says his petition tonight was aimed at getting the city and Hanover Insurance to begin negotiating a potential compromise. Once again, Kana says if this were to happen, the group would consider dropping their lawsuit. Anna?
Thanks, Cam. After saying goodbye to their skate park, members of Worcester's skateboarding community filled tonight's city council meeting. The Washington Street Park was demolished by the city without any warning, citing safety concerns as the reason. Warside had been working on the park for more than 10 years. Tonight they spoke to city councilors and the mayor after walking through the rain. The group says they just want their voices to be heard.
Up today, just to show we exist. Ultimately, it's apparently been too long gone, where our existence was completely ignored, and that ended up being against us.
The group says they'd like to see ground broken on a new park within the next year. The city of Worcester is going to sell advertising and naming rights to garages and lots in an effort to generate more revenue. DPW Commissioner Paul Moosey says the project has been a few years in the making. Advertising would be used on gate arms as well as the outside of buildings. By selling advertising, the city will be able to use those funds for garage upkeep. Moosey says after looking at some of Worcester's garages, it was a smart idea.
You know, how much they had in backlog of needs. There's been deferred maintenance literally in some cases for decades. So we need to find as many ways as we can to pay for that without, just raising the rates.
Moosey says the process has already begun and the city is going to monitor how well they sell ad space. Businesses in the Blackstone Valley meeting this morning to discuss the state's new grand bargaining law. Some are not happy about it, saying the increase in minimum wage creates uncertainty about how they'll cover the added costs. Our Rosalind Flaherty explains.
Managers at Package Steel Systems in Sutton are upset about the state's new grand bargain bill signed into law in June.
We hire people at $15 an hour, welders coming out of trade school. So when the minimum wage goes up to $15, it's going to be like an accordion.
Tuesday, dozens of small businesses met at the Blackstone Valley Chamber of Commerce to discuss how the law will impact their business. Many seem to be concerned.
For them, these are costs that add up. It's going to be very difficult for them to absorb this cost.
The grand bargain allows up to 12 weeks of paid family leave for all workers. It gradually increases the minimum wage from $11 to $15 an hour by 2023, and it requires the state to hold a sales tax holiday every summer.
It's going to cause real-world decisions that are going to be very tough for a lot of small business owners to make.
State Representative Kevin Kuros owns a small business. He voted against the bill.
I think what we saw here today was a lot of business owners struggling with the uncertainty of what this means to them.
Package Steel Systems employs 41 people. They recently designed and fabricated the Worcester Ice Center. The company's president says ultimately the increased costs from the law will fall on the consumer.
The more we have to pay on the minimum wage and the more we have to, pay the grade scales, it kind of trickles down, and ultimately, the consumer ends up paying more for their product.
Rosalind Flaherty, Worcester News Tonight.
The drowning of a 13-year-old boy at Bell Pond in Worcester is sparking conversation on how to make the pond safer. Omari Hector died after being pulled from the water. He was swimming after beach hours when lifeguards were off duty. District 2 City Councilor Candy Merrow Carlson is presenting an order to City Council Tuesday to discuss solutions to prevent more drownings there. She's proposing the city discuss the feasibility of filling the deep area of the pond with sand or rocks.
There's a 12-foot drop up there that always is where we lose lives. And, we lose lives, and I think if we could do something about it, can we fill that in so that this never happens again?
Worcester DPW says filling the pond would require extensive research and permitting with hard-to-predict results. Swimmers are not allowed in the pond when lifeguards aren't on duty. For the 16th year, the Worcester Police Department hosts its annual Gang Camp. It aims to help at-risk youth make healthy decisions while building relationships with officers. Our Chandler Walsh has the story.
Look at these kids behind us. Have you ever seen anybody so happy in your life? Worcester kids take the ice with a helping hand from police. They had the chance to skate at the Worcester Ice Center, kicking off the Worcester Police Gang Unit's 16th annual gang camp.
I'm not trying to jinx it, but I'm doing pretty good.
100 kids participate each week in the program's 3-week run. For many of them, it was their first time skating.
I don't know how many of them even seen ice before. To get them out here on skates, it's amazing.
Gang camp is designed to prevent Worcester youth from joining gangs. It keeps them off the street when school's out for summer. Alizea Atherley started going to camp when she was 8 and now is a staff member. She says the camp teaches kids valuable lessons while having fun.
It gives kids awareness towards gangs and why they shouldn't join them and what could happen to their life if they do.
The program also strengthens relationships between the officers and at-risk youth.
Whatever perceptions are out there, those are all broken down. These kids love these officers. Adore them.
Sean Frijon is a gang unit officer. The program is special to him. He worked as a staff member when he was just 16. He says he sees the impact of camp year-round.
We're done with the camp and we see them on the street when we're actually working on patrol, and they say hi and then they say, oh, we'll be at gang camp next year.
That was our Chandler Walsh reporting. Stearns Tavern is one step closer to completion. City Manager Edward Augustus is recommending a $500,000 loan order for the final phase of renovations. The money will be put towards finishing the interior of the building. Preservation Worcester says the main structure is more than 200 years old, and a lot of the infrastructure did not meet modern code requirements. Things like heating, ventilation, and air conditioning will need to be replaced.
We thought that we had enough, as I said before, but it turns out that some of the systems, because of the move and their age, they need to be replaced. So we need to work on that.
The City Council will take up the City Manager's recommendation for the $500,000 borrowing at tonight's meeting.